Good morning. Or whatever it is, wherever you are. It's turned up higher than it did before. Or is that just a loud song? So I've been dissatisfied with how these gameplay curves are actually working out. Now, part of it is that I've got this late peak, and this is a parameter I haven't got around to randomizing yet. So sometimes that could be there, but I don't want to have this super slow zone at the start. So we're tending to get these like 1 to 3s. Well, this one isn't as as bad as they've been. Six, 7. 5.7? So it's estimated it can do that at a 60, huh? Well, I think I was bumping some things up to try and get this up, so maybe this peak needs to go down. Anyway, I want this to tend to rise a little faster. So I used to have a thing that was just up, straight, down. And my problem with that is, especially when you get the higher frequency details, it tended to be like going just between two levels. So I'd like some progression at the high end. Well, in part it's going slow because I'm allowing it to go slow. I'm doing only a cutoff at the bottom, a single cutoff, and then picking a speed for a song at the target score level, but we're also ramping this up within, yeah, it's like we are having a maximum on this curve and also ramping up based on this curve. So we're kind of getting a double decrease here. So maybe one step, well, would be not to vary this curve within there. Oh, but then we don't have anything keeping this up. Maybe I would have to vary the bottom and just have this be appear within that range. But there is something I wanted to look up. Since I'm kind of using this as an exercise mode, is there like a intensity curves, sexy curves? Nah, that's the wrong kind of curve. Got routine. Intensity calculator? Moderate aerobic activity. How you feel. Yeah, I mean, some of it is subjective. Light sweat 10 minutes. Can't say more than a few words without pausing for breath. That would get into heart rate monitors. Mm. Target heart rate, target heart rate. Equivalent performance at other distances. Heart rate zone calculator. Resultant fatigue. Oh, wait, I didn't see that. Okay, so we did complete for that. Now it's curves again. Increasing workout load within effective time frame. Okay, so this is a system. There's no. Workouts. So this is over the course of multiple workouts, not over the course of a single session. Volume, intensity, frequency. This is strength training, though. Yeah, progressively harder over time. Higher intensity, less reps. Yeah, that's not variation within a session. High intensity interval training. Oh, pacing? $45 to 60-minute class. People start at moderate level. Highest expenditure 30 to 40 minutes, then drop back down. Interval training might be in a search term. Ventilator threshold 2. That says about where the peak is. Doesn't really give us a deeper breakdown. That's weight training. An hour workout run. Warm up, 1 minute, 2 minute, 1.5. Oh, this is more of an interval type thing. Aerobic threshold, aerobic threshold, aerobic, repeat for desired miles or time. One, 2, 1.5, 1.5, 2, 1, 2.5, 30. Oh, this is gradually changing the ratio. That would be one way to vary it. That's like 3, 3, 3, 3. 10 minutes on either side. Yeah, that's for, yeah, the repeat is what? Not really a 1 hour workout, but I guess it can be made to a workout. Pacing during workouts. We're talking about reps, so this is more of a strength thing. That's swimming. Yeah, so I might just have to fall back on how I feel. $400 on a 5-minute interval. Yards of warm up before you hit this main. Okay, so yeah, this is swimming. So they're talking about things in yards. Got 10 seconds rest. Yeah, this is very numbers based, so it's hard to correlate to general intensity. CrossFit was more strength training. Yeah, so it basically comes down to feel. So I'm not sure we actually have any recommended pacing. There was something about interval training. Warm up. 3 minutes at high intensity. 3 minutes recovery. That's about our high frequency curves, essentially. "30 seconds full, 3 minutes recovery." Sprint, recover, 1122442211. So this is basically cycling on and off, which is kind of what my higher frequency curve is doing. And there's no real recommendations here. Well, they are recommending a warm-up, which should be... (2010). Eight run, 421. Yeah, these are all pretty high frequency, so I think it's pretty much back to how it feels. Alright, so I want to see if it makes sense to be varying that. Well, that allowed me to save a parameter that or not have a setting. Or have a setting for the range in here. But that's what's depressing our ends even more here. Yeah. So the wiggle's doing an arc. So percent was of that range. If we... Well, actually, we can think about this. If our base... So we have a setting for wiggle, and that's it right now. So if I did fully define both sides of the curve, that would sort of implicitly define wiggle. Because this ends up being like, well, that's the wiggle range. Wiggle base would be a constant flow of 0.5. And then this would be a range of 0.5. Oh, and I should probably turn off default training while we're recycling stuff here. Yep. Okay, so we just happened to be synchronizing with some peaks there. Yeah, and then that gets you the whiplash pattern. So I don't want to be slowing down this much in the middle, which is why I was doing that. But I don't want to cut off being able to go up here. Well, I don't want to go up too fast. Or do I just set a max level and let having the curve on that will ramp up? Well, I also need a curve that's a little bit more in the middle. But I also, well, I wanted some of the ramp here so that we aren't just going between two levels. This only hits extremes. So that's going to be some pretty severe whiplash. Because I still want this to be up a little bit. So what if I just had the... If we went back to this and... notes per second upper bound. Lower bound, upper bound. I'd want some control on there. So score bound becomes constant at mid score effectively, which is not going to work for settings, but so that gives us a wider range to select from, but that's still very low in the opening section. And are we just getting like really low starting curves? Nine, 6, 8, 4. 88973. So that gives us some variation over this. curve graph. Now, I may have had to remove that. Nope. Well, it's there. I don't know if the element that it's in. So I was doing this on an old version of current flow. So that's the wiggle within. We've got upper, lower. What am I trying to look at? Probably either wiggle or wiggle base. Wait, what was... Wiggle path and flow path. Is that drawing my arc? I probably need to get something that can draw an arbitrary curve rather than... Because these are effectively reproducing those curves. But the stuff I've got built up so far depends on the... Yeah, that's a different flow. Arc path. So that was only using it for the number. Wait, that's returning a single number? Oh, I got the weight function. Yeah, so these are reproducing it from scratch, which is... So an arc path would be... just a 0 to 1? Okay, yeah, so this is... Okay, yeah, so this is that. But I added a little tweak to it. I might need to redo... Yep. Redo my curve system so I can actually just draw those. Length of global flow. Yep. Yep. Why does it auto-hide? I guess it doesn't remember the setting between reloads. Local variable A. Oh, you must need... Yeah, maybe... Wait, so yeah, it was exactly that. It was just a previous version of the algorithm. Alright, so that disappears. So it's backwards. But yeah, that warm-up period's a little bit too slow. So I kind of like the idea that you have this slightly offset center. But we need a little bit more gradual there. Did I leave a second window open? I did not. Spiral curve. Oh, that's what they mean. Asymmetric. Good morning, Ops. Asymmetrical distribution. Skewed curves, maybe? Points in negative direction, points in positive direction. This is kind of too much skew. Close 5 parameter? Might be a bit much. It's not real. I don't think that's quite what I want. Let's like convert that somehow. Hyperbola type curve. Unanswered question. Symmetry is one of the essential features. Single branch. What was it? Yes. Was it 1 over x? A single branch. Okay, well that's kind of the wrong direction. Oh, I guess hyperbola is actually this thing, so that's not quite what we want. Asymmetric normal property distribution. Yeah, something sort of like that. Rila distribution. Mm. That seems... still very flat at the end. Oh, finally working on that, huh? Yeah, I imagine it's pretty busy. And that was kind of one of the reasons I didn't really consider trying to do that, because it's just a whole bunch of UI controls and things. Mm. Nope. Well, okay, so sure, zoom in. You know, maybe I should go back to the curve I've got, because it seems like there was one of them. One part of it, like if you broke down the pieces, we've got, we've got as a baseline, x to the a minus 1. Right, because they got blended together. And 1 minus x to the a. So if we go down to 1, 1, the blending those together kind of gets this curve. What would happen? How would I invert this? That inverts it in the y-axis. That just shifts it. Oh no, I'm looking at this curve. No, that's flipping that. Hmm. Hmm. Let's break down the parts here. So x to the a by itself is actually very similar to the other curve. So what they're doing is kind of flipping it down and bringing it down. Hmm. And which part of this accomplishes the flip? Okay, that flips the y, and then the 1 minus offsets it. Oh, that shifts it. Okay, and it is continuing down there. That's interesting. Wait. 1 minus... minus 1 plus 1. Okay. So then that's x minus 1 to the a plus 1 times x to the a minus 1. I must have got these backward. Oh, okay. Throwing simple any. Okay, I haven't looked into simple any, so I don't know that reference. Oh man, and actually, oh, you're adding even more switches. I probably did. I left it off on a couple of them. And well, I mean, some of them are overlapping yours because they were good ideas. I guess I don't know if it's even easier or harder having them built in like that. But I guess none of them felt like they were ever getting in my... A lot of the newer ones didn't feel like they're getting in my way. I guess I could see the safe field typing one. Some of the more recent stuff I haven't been as dubious about that. If I ever find a usable version of alternate controls, that will definitely require one. So did I throw in the wrong curve here? Well, I mean, some of my interface mods have compromises. And I understand them having designed it, but it could cause some confusing situations. Alright, so this is... Oh, cool, you can hide them. This must be overlapped with... Right, it is overlapped with something else. So this is our new curve. Oh no, I need to... Wait. Those are our two original parts. All together, they created a curve that does this. I want to get that plus that in some form. So I did pick the wrong one. So that has the steepness. There's... Right, we've still got this parameter. Whoa. That's... Which does not interact well. I guess that's the x to the a parameter. Changing signs. Right, because we're transposing this. Uh, well, I mean, I did tweak things. Like I found that I would often bump shift when typing and have it replace my handwritten text. Other than that, I'd have to think about what other things were. So this does not behave well. This curve does not behave well. It has very interesting behavior over very small changes in A. And it's weird. How small changes in the exponent cause a complete curve flip. Oh, because it's over negative values of x? Still, seems weird. Well, it's a difficulty, or kind of a difficulty intensity curve that I've been struggling with. So I've got this one, but it's got a little bit of a slow ramp. And I thought of kind of moving the bump around a little bit, but I'm assuming it'll still be a little bit too slow on one end or the other. I mean, I had a thing that was just like up, straight, down. But then you get these higher frequency things that are like always hitting like the same 2 or 3 levels. So it's like I want a little bit of ramp in there or something to mix it up. One thing I've considered is making my bottom limit. Right now I'm making this. Maybe I switched things back. I was playing with a hardline max. Yeah, maybe I think he undid that. I must have over undone something. Or I undid it, but didn't switch that back. So that's actually the same. So yeah, I'm trying to find something that's a little bit more up, but still has like a little bit of gradual build up. And I just don't know how to like draw a curve and have it work. So this behaves, so if I do start varying that parameter to, well, actually, this is not moving the hump anymore because we're essentially mirroring. It is, yes, this doesn't give me a parameter that can move our center. Whereas that's two things that are kind of intersecting there, but our intersection point is moving back and forth. And since the function is supposed to be undefined at 0, we don't really care what the weirdness is going on there. Yeah, so if well, I mean, that would be a little bit more gradual if we inverted it on that end, but then we just want to be able to move this around and have that create some variation. But when we get this sort of concave thing, it's a very slow ramp. I mean, I could go back to messing with Bezier curves, but I almost But it's kind of a pain to do these two different versions of things. So I may have to see if I can define these as proper functions. And then turn the proper function, turn the proper function into a flow. That might make the way we combine things here a little bit awkward. So if we do that, well, it's a little bit like any of these, isn't it? Yeah, so you're a pure function, but it is stage divided by stages. So if we have like an eval flow that takes a function and evals, I'm going to have to review. That's one of the things I have to review. Does Lua curry per se? Curry Lua. Or I looked this up before. You kind of have to do it, but you do it just by defining functions. So it looks like we can't define true inline functions. Documentation, I forget if this is 5.1 or 5.2. Function, no, that's function calls as statements. Local declarations. Expressions, function definitions. Function func body. Oh, function equals, what is this, the function definition? The statement translates to, okay, that's the convenience. So you could do, so yeah, you can just do func body end. So we can define sort of inline currying. F of so that would eval a flow. So I may define new functions for a bunch of these, and then I can remove things when I'm done. And then I can throw this into my curve graph. Well, path. Yeah, path is just a different number. How about we make this do n? And then I could use that to create paths as well. So if we redefine arc flow, which is just going to be actually a little bit like arc weight, it's even simpler. So it's x, where that is x, and a parameter. So now if I go curve graph, we want to eval a flow Oh no, I change that arc weight. Now it's just arc function. Well, this is still the weighting factor. Oh, that's just the weighting factor, which we still have to be able to turn into these two things. And what? I might need some variant names for the time being, because naming is hard. So this is implicitly returning a flow for this just to be a function. Stage. So in currying style, it would be here. Although that makes arc weight. Then it would be reversed. This is like a scaled. And then we've got this thing, which you just don't have a good name for. Well, I guess arc factor is just kind of the basic curve. But I think I may have actually been able to graph that. Because I think this thing is set to auto-scale itself. So this is arc factor. Which is of 3. Now this is where function of x, arc factor of 3x. Function body end. Oh, it didn't like that. Oh, you need a step number. Okay, so that wasn't an error, but it's not doing anything. Maybe it was an error. Limit must be a number. 1053. Fn oh. Oh, yes, x is going from there to there. Oh. Because this is a index into our list. What the heck? It's 100. Oh, nope, it's in the wrong function. Okay, that is not properly evaluating. It's going to be ugly as heck. No, it's not print. We'll report script error. How about parameters? Well, function you can't really do anything with. So you're saying this is not a number. Hundred. Okay, so that's not no. So that is a leftover error message. Okay, it's a bunch of numbers. And it's an increasing series of factors. Script error occurred. Okay, how about, can we just do, oh, you must have to return. I'm so used to the implicit return languages. There we go. It looks like that was actually 100 times the base level. Okay, so that gives me that. And if we just put a 10 in there, we would get the sample values for our individual flow points. So that's arc factor. Arc scaled would be arc flow. So we're normally using it as this. But the eval will pretty much just scale it. Or rather, the curve display routine will pretty much just scale it. Oh, okay, so it does. Right, it scales it to 0 and then to wherever it is. So you see a little bit of the bottom lift. Alright, so that's arc. That was the... So we've got wiggle, we've got... Manual was very based on stages. Wiggle's a little easier, maybe? Takes a flow, does whatever it is by a scale. Math.sin. Oh, scripts. Right, offset and scale are the things we're concerned about for that. That is just adjusting our sine wave parameters. Okay, so you're more of a traditional straight-up implementation of this. Scale times I divided by this scale. Alright, that's stretching. Offset. So is this directly depending on... May have to rewrite this a little bit. So, some sort of function. I never actually copied that, apparently. Return. So I may have to redo how I'm handling my scaling factor for this to work the way I want it to work. So we've got a scale and an offset. This is our scaling factor for the path. So this might have to be... Or I guess to get my old results, what I actually need is x times 10. And then we might need to adjust scale appropriately. So if we do... eval flow function return wiggle factor. Do you have any parameters? You might not have parameters at the moment. Okay, so that is in fact what we expect. So my wiggle settings might need adjustment to work in this system. Now, manual. So we had a weight function, and we had a thing that turned that into a flow, which is a... Actually, that's a scaling operation. So that could also be done in terms of a function. Well... Perhaps. Make slightly more complex invocations. So that would be scaled of a function. So this would be scaled of arc factor of 3 of x. Oh, but making you a partial application is also a pain in the butt. Because we don't have currying. And apply the x to that. Or I could actually build these functions assuming this usage. And sort of have them implicitly curried where there are other parameters. So like arc factor would be return function of x that returns this. And then you just take the a. And you're just a function of x. What else? What else was I currying? Eval flow of scaled of x. Return function of x that returns that. Might get a little weird here. So now we do eval scaled of arc factor 3. So this will end up reading better. Your function invocations might get a little weird if you end up calling something directly. So now it's just wiggle factor. The function of x. Oop, unexpected symbol near return. Where was that, kind sir? Oop, we'll have to return here. Okay, and that got us a different curve this time, but that's fine. All right. So wiggle factor, some manual flow weights. Edges is just going to be, that's going to be like an 0.2%. So to reproduce this, well, weight's the thing we can graph, right? It's path. Manual flow weights. Manual flow. Oh, so manual flow is actually passing that in. So manual flow weights is for a given stage, which is going to be our x, and an edge. Return a function of x. And this is going to be manual flow factor, I guess. Now you return two things. So it's not a straight up weight function we can just evaluate. End distance. Gets a little weird. And distance rather than less than edge. Oh, this could be expressed as a 0, 1, couldn't it? Or could it not? Yeah, because start factor is an implicit of mid factor. So this was 0, 1 from start to mid. So mid factor is 1. So really, we should be able to just do mid factor here. I may have some slightly different interpretation of some things, or some things I want to do differently. Oops, I had 2 of these going. Manual flow factor of, that's what divided by 5 would do. Okay, so that's exactly what we expect. Nice mechanical curve. So that can be translated so we can easily graph things. And does that allow us to then take, well, actually, it'd be probably easier to do this. Scaled manual flow factor I presume that scale, we're only seeing the bottom effect because the graph is auto-scaling. Maybe I shouldn't be auto-scaling these curves, but it was the easiest thing to grab. So that gives me a set of things that I can always graph. Now, that was the wiggle path. Manual flow, it's just a weight, so that's fine. Wiggle flow had 2 scaling curves, actually. So how does that translate? So we have wiggle factor. So I guess we have wiggled to go along with scaled. So we have a base, like a base and a scale, and you would return a function of x. No, actually, it's not going to be quite like this. That would return base of x plus, and this was implying the function itself. Oh, wiggle factor. Oh, this would be a scaled of wiggle plus a base. improper functional. So this would really just be like a add curves. So to get this, all right, so we have a scaled manual factor. We have a scaled wiggle factor, it didn't have parameter, by an up value middle. Oh, 10501. 1051. Oh, scaled needs the 2 points. So what does that mean for a sine wave? Scaled might not be the best way to handle this. So we multiply so our wiggle is a basic 0, 1. We want to multiply the entire thing by this is blending between two different weights based on 0, 1. But it's not 0, 1, it's 0, negative 1. So is this 0% wiggle? Okay, so that's looking a little bit like our old curves. Maybe a lot of wiggle going on. And then we could take this and if we took out manual flow factor for arc factor 3, we get that kind of thing, which is being a much more complex thing in the actual game right now. So that's what we've got currently, which is being constrained by several factors. Well, I don't yet have this as something I could use. Although in theory, if we come down here, this is perhaps a bit more verbose for some of our things here. So our wiggle base is this. I guess Lua ignores extra parameters? Oops. So you're that. Wiggle range. Oh, I haven't defined constant. Right, because this might not be a drop-in. Because that's saying wiggle range is a constant thing. This is this wiggle factor. But we're not directly using that number. Where did I use that? Song list item? Yeah, and I'm just doing that. So as a thing that I want to represent here, it actually should stay constant. But then wiggle itself is this evaluated to 10. Oh, no, I need to do eval flow for this to all work out. Oh, wait, this is supposed to be a flow as well. Although, I guess if these were curves, I could then just graph the curves directly instead of duplicating them. And constant is actually something I have not... Oh, wait. No, that was wiggle. Wiggle base. Maybe I should switch the parameters. Because it's feeling like you want to say eval at blah blah blah. Oh, it's right there. This would have been that. Eval flow to 10. And then all of these need to be updated. Eval flow to 1,000. Maybe I should actually be defining, you know, curve to graph equals blah blah blah. Eval flow, graph curve. Okay, so eval that to 10. Wiggle range is constant flow, which we've not fixed yet. Your constant flow, which you've not fixed yet. Upper bound. Is scaled arc. I think I need to flip more of these parameters for this to work, for this to make sense. Arc flow 3, and then we are scaling to fastest speed starting. Fastest speed, and then you are expecting a flow. Oh, not 10. And then the score bound. Yeah, no, it's per second. Score bound. Would be so I was afraid this would be a little bit more awkward to type out. But being able to directly graph, well, I can't directly graph these, can I? Unless I define the formulas and then eval them everywhere. Alright, so this was example, and in fact, graph data. I'm going to be done with you for a little bit. Yeah. I figured you couldn't get through that without a few typos. Oh, you guys need commas. 1090. You need a comma. Expected to close 1094. It 2009. Arithmetic on start. Where are we even calling arc flow now? Oh. Arc factor. I feel like some of my selection range boxes might be a little bit out of whack. Yeah, that's a lot of 8s and 9s and stuff. Something's not quite the same. Is add the right thing here? Maybe I should delete my code. So it's target plus the scale at that point. So that should be wiggle times scale plus the baseline. Well, it did feel like that wiggle was a little bit bigger in some of the graphs. But I can't directly want to do the others without sort of making emulation functions. A rating 7 at 5.2 notes per second? And the 8s and 9s have me a little bit more concerned. Maybe that's actually... None of these are actually completely outside of my current parameters. I'm a little bit concerned about the amount of range we've got here. But that's not completely unreasonable. And at the moment, we've actually maybe accidentally tweaked some of this stuff to be reasonable. We'll have to see. Did I even open up a console today? Okay, so we are kind of work in progress. And get status. Oh, I must have made some other changes. Oh, and we want to put that back. That changes. Actually, I should probably do notes anyway. Yeah, I had a bunch of thoughts here, but actually what we're doing right now, and I should have looked at this, converting to 0, 1 functions that can be evaluated for flow or high-res graphing that's still very whip. We still got all the old stuff hanging around. This probably does replace the path functions completely. Unfortunately, there are some other path references. Yeah, so arcflow was only used... No, okay, so arcflow is actually that one. Oh, and then what I wanted to do is get to the point where I could redo Beiser flow. Oh, and linear flow and constant flow. Yeah, there's a few other functions to convert from my earliest days, like wiggle path. That's something we should be able to get rid of. Graph data flow path was the other one. Okay, so that may have been all of them that I looked at. Oh, that's right. I went because I was working on UI stuff, and then in playing it, I became dissatisfied with the actual curves. So that may have changed things. We'll see how it feels. Whip, converting flow functions to... Alright, we're getting towards midday. I want to convert over to actually playing this game so I can get some exercise at some point. If there's no disruptions, it might... Well, there's going to be at least one disruption because I changed code and I should make sure nothing crashes. But it's actually staying... I might want to bonk the difficulty down when we get up here, because a 9 at 5.2... Well, I think I can do 61. Those are sort of okay. But it's really kind of hanging out that upper end on this one right now. I may have tweaked something about... Oh, you know what? I may have tweaked it so it's bouncing around the target point, not under the target point. Which would lead me to want to change our... and that happened because we got an arc that was within that range, and then we wiggled that thing that was left. Well, no. I might still end up bumping it down because we're getting some pretty hard stuff right now, but I need to... I might need to put some more of an absolute scale on the high detail graph to get a better understanding of what's happening. Anyway, we're going to play something like this, maybe with some tweaks, and see how it turns out. I am going to change stream settings to high frame rate. And this is, of course, the end of the programming stuff. So if you want to hang out a little bit later, I will be back shortly. If you were just here for some Lua, thanks for hanging out. Maybe I'll see you next time. Let's see, off for next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody who was hosting. No, I'm not hosting myself, so I don't have anything to set up. I'm normally doing programming in the mornings, and then switching over to Stepmania sometime around now. I'll be back in a few minutes if you want to hang out. Otherwise, bye, and yeah, be right back.